FPZ's back, baby.
He's back.
This is your weekly foreign policy show that gives you the gory details of geopolitics with hopefully some laughs along the way. I'm Seena Ghaznavi, your FPZ.
FPZ back in the house.
Foreign policy curious host with us our co-host and comedian, director, Columbia Journalism School grad.
Look at this, a hoodie.
Boom, hoodie.
Because it's chilly here in LA.
Travis Irvine.
Great to be back.
Great to be back. Great show last week.
Thank you. Thanks to Ed Larson for filling in.
Big thanks,
Everyone's
Ed.
saying he's the voice of the people, and I agree.
Oh my God, a lot of head nodding.
A lot of head nodding that I got to do.
A lot of
The thing is, Ed Larson has a lot to say when he doesn't have ham in his mouth.
Yeah, he's got a lot to say.
That's why I love him.
He gets on a rant and he speaks for the people.
Yes.
Ed Larson for Congress.
Oh,
can you imagine?
Honestly, governor of Florida, I think he could do it.
Governor.
From guy who was in prison in Florida to governor of Florida. That's a
hero's journey right there. Mm-hmm. Sign up for the newsletter. Send it to a friend that you think would like it. Please forward it along. foreignreportshow.com, theforeignreport@gmail.com. I'm so excited to be back to talk about awful news happening around the world.
Welcome back.
Wow, welcome back.
Hope your vacation was fun.
It was nice. It was just, with the kids. It was so special.
Now we got real shit to talk about.
We're going to talk about the COP30.
Okay.
Brazil.
Oh, okay. A different cop than I was thinking.
It was a different cop. Cop. Bad boys, bad boys.
What are you going to do?
Nothing about the climate, apparently. Nothing about the world warming.
Sure, it'll be fine.
We've also got talking about the Saudi Arabian,
leader meeting
MBS,
at the White House.
Coming to
MBS
the White House.
Coming back to the WH.
Talking about Nigeria as well.
I've been preparing for this. I'm very excited to talk about Nigeria, even if the news is terrible.
And also news out of the Philippines.
Oh, the Philippines.
Yeah, because this is a geopolitical podcast. We're going to bring you the world.
#1 geopolitical podcast in the manosphere.
Boo! Let's go, baby. Great show, by the way, last week. I just want to say it again.
Thank you.
I'm really proud.
I did nothing except give Ed terrible things to think about and yell about. And then I was like, well, you're right there, Ed.
I think he probably broke some sort of security clearance as well. It seemed like multiple times.
All the things he talked about with the UFO
He was like,
tour.
as we were in the green zone, and I was
popping pills with the generals.
Chairman of the Joint Chiefs. I'm like, I don't think you're supposed to say any of those things.
He did say at some point, he's like, I don't think I'm going to be invited back.
Yeah.
At this point. But, you know what?
Ripping lines off AKs. Anyways, if you saw in our newsletter last week, we talked a little bit about the climate crisis that's been happening, as well as America's role in the climate crisis. And by role, I mean that we're not doing anything about it.
Right.
So why are we talking about it again? Because this week, and when this episode drops, it'll be the end of COP30, which is happening in Brazil right now.
What is COP? I mean, it's a big deal, right?
Yeah. What is COP stand for?
That's a great question. We're gonna find out for you right now.
All right, let me look this up real quick here.
Here we go.
Because I don't know. COP30? All right,
that's why you say it. Here in America, I think of one thing.
Conference of the Parties.
Is that a real thing?
It's a conference.
It is a conference.
And there are parties?
There are parties.
Involved.
Fun parties.
Isn't it so funny? There's all these little acronyms that we just say, and we just keep it moving.
Yeah. We're going to be talking about MBS. We're going to be talking about COP. Let's go. It's all acronyms today.
So this is a huge deal because America's supposed to be the leader in this whole thing.
Right.
And we're obviously not. We don't have any of our leaders, any of our cabinet members. No one's down there for us. And there were protests from Indigenous people because where they are in, and I don't want to mispronounce it too badly here. I think it's Belém.
In Brazil.
It is the gateway to the Amazon.
Ooh.
And the Indigenous people there came out, Travis, and they were like, hey, this is really bad. And I just want to show a protester and what they were looking like. They were blocking the entrance of which is nice. You're going to block the entrance. God bless. It's not going to work. But the message is clear. And by the way, talk about free speech. This is a protest.
Right.
If they got a license or a permit, it would be a parade.
Sure.
The indigenous people of Brazil are not going to go get a license, so this is not like, no King's Day. They are protesting, and they even stormed the building at one point, but here. So then they're all standing.
We will stay until the president, Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, solves our problem. And we want him to bring back the shadow because he deforested everything. They deforested everything, and now we're under the scorching sun. While he negotiates with the AC inside the house, we stay here suffering
Man
under
with a
the
monkey.
scorching sun.
Wow.
Isn't that great? Bring back the shadow. So
sweet.
illustrative,
I know.
right?
Gosh.
It's kind of crazy. So I just want to highlight that there are protests happening. I think that's something that's important. Indigenous people are disproportionately affected by climate change.
Big time.
And this is just like before we get into it even more, first tell me, what is your view on climate change? Like, where do you, on the spectrum of like the world is coming to an end and it's a hoax, where are you?
Well, I don't think it's a hoax.
Are you sure? Your eyes tell me another story.
Look, but look at my Columbia Journalism hoodie.
Okay, I got it
Because it's
now.
very chilly today. So that's, then there's the part of me who's like, well, it's pretty cold today, so it's not warming. No, it's clearly something is real. I don't know if you want to call it climate change or what, but human activity clearly affects the climate and temperatures and things like that. We clearly are having an effect on this planet.
There's a reason that people can unalive themselves by going into their garage and turning the car on. And just suffocating. If the human impact of cars did not have an effect on the environment, then you should just be able to breathe that air.
Right. You remind me of this South Park episode where they tried to do it with an electric car, Cartman and Butters, and they just sat there. It's like, I don't think it's working. So luckily, it's another problem we're solving with EVs.
And I consider myself a thoughtful person.
You're very thoughtful.
And I think we are in a position, to your point, human impact on the globe is very real.
Yes.
I think the thing that people skip talking about is who will be impacted.
Yes.
And
everybody on the planet Earth, I'm pretty sure.
Well, everybody will be, but at the end of the day, humans are very adaptable. And I think I would like to center the conversation on who is going to be disproportionately impacted by this. It's the people, the indigenous people of the Amazon. It's people that live on the coasts. It's people like that live in West Asia who don't have infrastructure to handle changes in climate. People that are in more developing countries are going to get disproportionately hit.
Right.
I'm sorry, but New York City, you'll get some flooding, but immediately the Army Corps of Engineers will be there to fix it.
To figure stuff out. Sure.
Okay? So, like, the other places that have infrastructure, that have an advanced economy, will be able to adapt to whatever catastrophic changes happen to our climate.
Right.
I always think, though, okay, but are we actually okay? Like, I think when we talk about the world is going to come to an end, all this other stuff, we kind of skip over actually caring about the people that are going to be impacted immediately.
Yeah. I agree.
And I think that gives oxygen to those guys. Who was that?
Or it takes oxygen away. Thank you. Talking climate change.
Thank you. I think it also gives oxygen to that. Who was that guy that brought in the snowball in Congress?
Oh my God, James Inhofe.
Inhofe, yes.
Yeah.
He's like,
what? God, that is a throwback.
Yeah.
I forget, Oklahoma senator.
Yes.
And he's good friends with Bernie. Bernie always said it's like, the crazy thing is I'm very good friends with Inhofe. Like, we get along really well, but climate change, we are completely different. Yeah, he brought a snowball to the Senate floor. He's like,
what?
Hey, if climate change is real, why do I have a snowball? And that's basically what he did.
Everyone in the Senate was like, what is happening
in America? Like, well, he's a senator. Please show him some respect.
And I think we also are in this age where corporations can do this thing called regulatory capture. It's basically when we have all these regulations, and this is like a big tenet of neoliberalism, where you think that the conservatives would be like, there's too much regulation, there's all this regulation. But who are the ones that are able to navigate that regulation? It's giant corporations with big legal departments.
Yes.
And powerful lobbyists and brokers that then get their versions of those regulations put in. So liberals will sit here and be like, we've got a bunch of stuff at the EPA or a bunch of stuff at this agency that's regulating these industries. And those industries are like, well, we've got more money to lobby those congresspeople and those senators and those people that are in those agencies to make sure that we get the regulations that we know how to navigate.
Right.
And so you have this terror, and this is the whole neoliberal cycle that we're in right now.
Sure.
And I was recently seeing this article, which it kind of like skips all of the regulatory capture and goes straight to corruption.
Oh, good.
Just to speak to what Elon Musk is doing.
Oh, yeah, that
at
guy.
the Boring Company.
Right.
And boring meaning like it is boring, but you're drilling boring.
You're boring.
You're boring.
Right.
Boring
Right.
into the ground. Okay?
Good.
And then in Vegas, he's got these tunnels. And there's like a whole tunnel system.
What?
In the convention center. You go from one end to the other, and they're trying to connect it to the airport, to all these other places. So they're drilling a lot of tunnels.
Oh, I think I see where you're going here with the climate change.
Exactly. Maybe? I don't know.
He's building a system of tunnels to survive when the sun scorches the rest of us.
He's got that's not...
I think that's where you're going.
That's not
This is anything but boring. Go on.
That's not what I'm talking about, but...
You're talking about tunnel people. Sorry, Indigenous people. No more shadows for you.
Sorry.
To the tunnels.
It's all shadow now.
Yeah.
It's all no trees. So to make these tunnels, they were using a certain accelerant to dry the concrete inside the tunnel. Okay? You would think you drill into there, put the concrete on, you put this other chemical on, it's going to dry faster. Okay, makes sense.
Yeah.
Here's the catch.
Uh-oh.
When you use that chemical, it's actually really toxic. And it can actually get everywhere when it mixes with a little groundwater.
Oh, no.
It turns into this toxic mud.
Oh, no. And you know what's in the ground.
Yeah.
Groundwater.
Groundwater. And so for years, Boring Company employees have been getting chemical burns.
Oh, my gosh.
But they have rules. And so there's all these tunnels in Vegas and in Nevada. And the fire department goes in there because, they've got to make sure if there's all these tunnels and something happens, they're the ones that have to go in.
Right, they get called.
And save people. So they're like, okay, we need to run some safety drills out of these tunnels.
Imagine the fire marshal just going down there and be like, this is all toxic, going to catch on fire so soon.
Well, they went down there and they're like, hey, what's up with this mud? And a Boring Company employee is like, no, it's just mud. Don't worry about it.
Oh, my gosh.
And so these guys are then knee deep in this mud.
Toxic mud.
Toxic mud, which they didn't know was toxic. But I'll tell you what, afterwards they found out it was toxic because a couple of them got rushed to the hospital for severe chemical burns, which could be permanent, by the way.
Oh, no.
Okay, so Nevada OSHA comes in, Travis.
Okay.
This is great.
Yes.
Okay, because we have regulations.
Yes.
We have safety.
Yes.
Safety regulations.
This workplace is unsafe.
Exactly. And Nevada OSHA levied the largest fine in its history to a company, over $400,000, which, by the way, doesn't seem like very much.
No, not for Elon Musk. The richest man in the world? Yeah.
Over 400, that's like a 420 or something like that, to the Boring Company. Okay, that's great. Publicly cited for this. They get a fine. Fantastic. This is our government doing the work of the people. Company does bad thing.
Yeah.
Regulation steps in and says, hey, you're being punished.
Yes. That's how it's supposed to work.
But.
I knew it.
But.
Big old butt.
It's a big old butt.
Pregnant pause followed by a big old butt.
Jeff Davies, the president of the Boring Company, calls the governor's office.
Oh, no.
And talks to their head of infrastructure.
And the governor, by the way, is a Republican who was backed by Trump.
And his head of infrastructure in the Nevada governor's office, a former Tesla employee.
Oh, incredible.
And somehow, all of a sudden, Travis, drum roll, please.
Drum roll.
The citations disappear.
What?
So,
regulatory capture with a touch of corruption.
This is all to say,
insane.
Private interests are running our environmental policy.
Oh, good.
And if you saw what I was talking about in the newsletter last week, when George Bush 1 was in office, he was talking about how we are going to lead the White House effect is going to be one where we are able to lead the world in climate regulation and activism and change.
Right. HW, one of his credits is that he actually liked the environment, which is a low bar.
Problem is, his chief of staff, John Sununu, did not.
Oh, right. New
And
Hampshire's own John Sununu. What did Sununu know?
Apparently nothing about the climate.
Sununu knew nothing.
But look, this is companies are able to influence our climate policy, our local policy. We're able, like, we are, unless we have a real way to say to our government, no, you need to vote the right people in, folks.
Right.
Okay?
It's something I've always heard you say, and I quote you on this a lot, is the plumbing is good, the plumbers are the problem.
Yes.
Our infrastructure is set up to work. It's just the people in charge of it are bad.
We stopped caring about the plumbers.
Yeah.
We thought the plumbers were all trustworthy Italian men with mustaches. But
Wait
this
a
is
minute.
the only mustache you should be trusting, folks.
Yes, although don't put me in charge of anything yet.
No, not yet. Not yet. But if there was like a film department,
Oh, yeah, I could run that.
you could run the
Film credits, yeah.
Film credits, there we go. So, I wanted to bring this up in the context of COP30 because right now they're talking about getting fossil fuels to net zero by 2050. That's the big thing on the table at COP30.
Would be great.
They're also talking about ending deforestation, which is to bring the shadow back for those indigenous people. And Lula is leading this.
Nice.
Lula is also partly responsible for deforestation because he's
He's in charge.
He's in charge. Yeah. Will that happen? I'll tell you what else is happening there. China is there because we're not there. You know all the cars shuttling people around?
Uh-oh.
Chinese electric BYD cars.
Whoa, I've heard of the BYDs.
So those they look very good.
You telling me BYDs are at COP?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, man. They are all over COP. They are all over it.
That's wild. I've read about them. They're like a very affordable EV car, but they're illegal to buy in the United States.
And this thing with Musk is a little microcosm of what happens around the world. Mm-hmm. If you look at what's happening at COP, and I was just wondering about this, and I was talking to producer Danielle about it, and I was like, we have so many lobbyists that influence our government. Is it possible that the UN has the same problem? Surely the UN would be like, no lobbyists. But then I quickly was like, oh, Seena, classic naive Seena.
Right. You fool! The UN.
Apparently, Transparency International researchers found that nearly 70% of the 1,773 fossil fuel lobbyists who attended previous climate talks in Baku did so as part of state delegations.
Whoa. Wow.
So there's left like 50,000 people at COP.
Okay.
Right? I don't know if they're all states, but there's about 50,000.
That's a lot.
There's a lot of lobbyists that are influencing policy. So when they say net zero by 2050, what's the small print? Because the small print is that regulatory capture that I'm talking about. And that's how they let their teams of lawyers, and there's another thing I say, lawyers built this country, and they also made it so that only lawyers understand how it works. And so this is the little devils in the details.
Yeah, big time.
There's also another thing here. Analysis also finds that 6,209 participants, around 15% of all attendees, chose not to disclose their affiliations despite a new transparency mechanism introduced in COP28.
Wow. What? This conference of the parties, it's mainly a lobbyist party.
It is a lobbyist party.
That's kind of weird.
But they're all like, we're trying to get the world to be a better place.
On our terms.
Well, I have a yacht.
Right. I don't have children, but I do have 19 yachts.
Yeah.
Right. So their stake in the quote-unquote climate is to keep their party going. Their conference of parties is to keep the coal party going, the oil party going, the natural gas party going.
You know, I was thinking about our show, and
how dare you?
It's a thing that you said, and I think the vision for the show is let's make global news bearable. Because a story like this is unbearable to think about.
And no pun intended with the boring company, but it's pretty boring.
It's a boring story.
But it's so important.
It's so, it only piqued my interest because I read about some firefighters getting chemical burns. And this is the age we live in.
Yeah.
I'm sick of it.
Oh, cool. Sound like Ed Larson over here.
What are we doing? Where's the ham?
Ham. Also a great acronym.
Oh, yeah. Hard as a
muscle.
We'll see you guys. Guys, for T-Seps, I'm FBZ. We'll be right back after this to talk about Manila, Saudi, and Nigeria. Stay tuned. This is the Foreign Report. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Foreign Report. I'm Seena Ghaznavi, Travis Irvine. We're back in the studio. So
it's acronym week here at FP.
Boom, boom.
FPZ, what you got?
What do we got?
We're talking COP. What else we talking?
We got big protests in Manila. in the Philippines.
Ooh, like the Thriller in Manila?
That's what box? That was a boxer, right?
The big one. That was, God, I think that was Muhammad Ali versus Foreman.
Right. Yes, Thriller in Manila. An estimated 650,000 people have taken to the streets in Manila to protest the disappearance of billions of dollars of supposedly set aside for flood mitigation.
Oh my God, speaking of climate policy in action.
Exactly. The 3-day rally has drawn people from across the country. It's shut down roads, schools, businesses. Investigators have found 400 non-existent flood protection projects. This belongs in an episode of Fraudsters, by the way.
Yeah.
That had been funded and supposedly completed, with the Economic Planning Ministry reporting 70% of allocated public funds lost to corruption. By the way, when the Americans, like these conservatives, talk about corruption, this is corruption.
Yeah.
Okay? There is no voter fraud, okay? When like 0.0001% of people commit voter fraud. This 70%, this is crazy.
It's billions of dollars.
I mean, and the Philippines, I don't even need to show a map of the Philippines. You know the Philippines.
I mean, it's a very spread out island-based country.
It's water.
Yeah, it's surrounded by a lot of water.
It's all
That's
water.
a good way to put it, too.
Flood protection systems are not just like, oh no, it's raining. It's like life and death. You need these protection systems.
Man.
The frequency of large-scale typhoons continues to increase with global warming, El Nino. And in November alone, 2 massive typhoons besieged the country, killing over 300 people and displacing over 1 million. Like, what are we talking about here?
That's a lot.
That's
really
crazy.
This is like you were talking about earlier. This is climate change in action, basically.
Yeah. And our inaction is putting it in action.
Wow.
Wow, look at that.
Look at that.
Wow. It should be noted that the protest was largely organized by this church, this like mega like authoritarian church called INC. And it's got like 3 million people. They are the largest voting bloc in the country. They like all vote together basically. And what I found interesting about this is that when they were interviewed, like the head was interviewed, they were saying, because basically like the parishioners, if you will, or the churchgoers, were asked to come and protest.
Oh, okay.
And it was coordinated by the church.
Gotcha. I mean, that explains, 650,000 protesters is a lot.
And because they're so devout, they were all like, okay, yeah, we're absolutely showing up. And they were like, yeah, we will show up. But this is what they also said in the interview. We don't want a coup. We want the corruption removed.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important because if this were in America, they'd be like, hang Nancy Pelosi.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, they got all these people together for legitimately a really good reason. They have a legitimate grievance. In any other sense, we would say, take over the government.
Sure.
But they were like, listen, just fix it.
Yeah, right. Just fix the one thing.
Just stop. That's so much money.
I like it. These are like protests in other countries, Brazil, Philippines, that actually have
It's an
goals.
elevated protest.
Yeah.
A sophisticated, classy, upmarket protest.
And led by a church.
And led by a church that is probably
A cult?
I was going to say
Yeah, no.
it has been described as authoritarian, the church. So, again, an authoritarian
I mean, what church isn't a little authoritarian?
But I mean any authoritarian could probably say like you use vague language, like Trump does. Like, we're going to fight. You know what I mean? What does that mean? He's going to, we're going to January 6th.
Right.
But this is like, no. We're being very clear. Maybe it's also kind of like a soft threat. Like, if we wanted to, we could take it.
Oh, I see.
So, yeah. So that's what's happening in Manila. Something to keep your eye out.
That's a real thriller in Manila.
Yeah.
I like it.
There's also, tangentially, there's a thing happening in Tanzania where there's an election that happened that's, like, riddled with fraud, and there's a bunch of protests happening there. We're not going to cover that this week, maybe in another week, because we're still tracking what's happening there.
Wow. Love all the protests around the world.
Protests are happening. Things are happening beyond our borders, folks. But what international news is happening within our borders?
Uh-oh. Let's get to it.
This week, Trump hosted Saudi Prince Mohammed bin Salman.
Wow.
A.k.a. MBS.
MBS.
He's at the White House. This marked the first time the U.S. has welcomed a Saudi leader since the murder of Jamal Khashoggi, and it came complete with red carpets.
Oh my gosh. Just like he got the Putin treatment.
And a military flyover. A lot came out of the meeting, including the decision to upgrade Saudi Arabia to a non-NATO major ally status, which doesn't happen a lot.
Right.
And sell them downgraded F-35 fighter jets. They have all the bells and whistles, just no Apple CarPlay. That's from what I understand.
Gotcha.
You
can't play tunes while flying
no
around?
USB-C in there, but it's got all the other stuff.
What about Bluetooth?
Bluetooth? I don't know.
All right.
We'll give you Bluetooth, but no, you got to use the old USB.
You got to use, unfortunately, an iPod.
For the first time, putting them on equal footing militarily with Israel.
Oh, interesting.
Yes. So this F-35 decision ignored warnings from his national security officials that the sale creates a walkway, like a moving walkway for China to waltz in and steal our technology.
Oh, okay. Didn't see that one coming.
Because if you give them the whole thing, like they don't care about us. Saudi Arabia doesn't care about us.
Right. They'll just ship it right over to China.
Or they'll just invite a Chinese guy over and just be like, hey, what do you think? And then they'll just...
Can you attach a Bluetooth in here?
Yeah. He's like, let me plug my hard drive in and check it out, though.
Right.
They also discussed the possibility of the Saudis joining the Abraham Accords, which MBS said would be contingent upon the establishment of a two-state solution for the Palestinians.
See, this is what's interesting here with this.
Yeah, absolutely not going to happen.
Okay.
It's like so.
You're telling me the guy who killed a journalist can't be trusted?
Yeah, cannot be trusted.
All right.
And he made a verbal agreement for the Saudis to invest upwards of $600 billion in the U.S., the majority of which coming in tech and AI. You sent me an article about this, dude. Aren't they going to build a hotel for him?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's gonna be it's like a Trump hotel. It's gonna be funded with Saudi money and AI tech money.
Oh my God!
So yeah, it's like literally grift.
They also took questions from reporters. You probably saw this. I'm sure you
This
have.
is incredible content in my feed.
When an ABC journalist asked MBS about his involvement in the Khashoggi murder, which the U.S. intelligence found was likely ordered by MBS, the journalist was rebuffed by Trump, saying of Khashoggi, go ahead. Why don't you do this?
Oh, my God. A lot of people didn't like that gentleman. Whether you liked him or not, things happened, but MBS, he knew nothing about it. You don't have to embarrass our guest by asking a question like that. A terrible person, you're a terrible reporter. Sounds like Trump wants to Khashoggi a lot of these people.
Oh, yeah.
That's what he admires about MBS the most, probably. He's like, you're telling me I can just have all these journalists murdered?
I think the big question here is, why is this happening now? And you could point to what you just said, right? Which is there's a grift.
Yeah.
There's a classic grift.
There's an agreement, kind of like with Qatar.
Yeah. There's what I call sandwashing. What I call the sandwashing. That's
Why do you call it that?
Because they're just trying to get everyone to not see all the human rights violations that are also happening within Saudi Arabia.
Okay.
They are able to do this with their money, like the Riyadh Comedy Festival. By the way, they're saying like, oh, women can drive now. Let me tell you something. There are plenty of women in prison for like bad retweets that the government doesn't like.
What?
There is still, if you look at, there's certain human rights organizations that have been talking about this. It's really bad in Saudi Arabia still. It's not like I don't think people understand how a state is able to project an image into the consciousness of the world when they have an infinite amount of money.
Right.
And money creates our reality. You could look at cryptocurrency, I think, as a really good example.
Yeah.
It is nothing. It is literally nothing.
It's made up.
But you have giant financial institutions pouring money into it. Mm-hmm. And that creates a reality for it.
Right.
Saudi's doing the same thing. If we make a comedy show, if we get Monday Night Raw, if we go to the White House, if we have some women able to drive, if we do all these things, that gets clipped, the algorithm picks it up, that gets into the zeitgeist, and all of a sudden, we get to hide a few things here, a few things there. And if you control the internet, if you control how the communication flows in and out of your country, you can create a reality for the world to experience.
Woo! Yikes. MBS. In charge.
And MBS is ham. I think it's safe to say. I mean, is that it's kind of insane.
It's beyond insane. I mean,
and like our best comedians go to Saudi Arabia and come back and say, "Oh, the people there wanted to laugh. I got to interact with some young comedians there."
Oh boy.
It's like, my man, it was curated for you.
Mm-hmm. F-35s.
Oh my God, we're gonna get F-35s, bro. And like we make, I think they're buying over like 60 or something, and we make like 100 or 200 a year.
Right.
I mean, it's just propping up the military-industrial complex as well.
Oh yeah, yeah. A lot of these arms deals. That's what it is.
I mean, I don't know what to really make of it. All right, should we move on to Nigeria? Woo! Something way more depressing.
All right, I'm ready.
Okay.
I'm ready. Here we go.
Okay, so the latest in Nigeria is a little rough. In the middle of the night on Monday, attackers scaled the walls of a secondary school in northern Nigeria, the state of Kebbi, and kidnapped 25 girls. This is the second mass abduction of school-age children in 4 years in Kebbi, following an incident in 2021 when 100 students and faculty were kidnapped from a government-run college, and recalls the mass abduction of 276 girls in 2011 by Boko Haram. No group has claimed responsibility, which is strange. Usually they do claim it pretty quickly. Right. The government, though, has vowed a, quote, relentless day and night pursuit of the abductors. Trump's allies have called it more persecution of Christians, despite the fact that the girls in question are Muslim.
Oh, okay. It's completely wrong.
So, in the past several weeks, Trump and his allies like Ted Cruz have been posting claims that Nigeria's government has been facilitating the killing of Christians by Islamist militants. The Nigerian government denies these claims and defended its commitment to religious freedom. I like the denial from Nigeria is like, no, there's plenty of Muslims being killed too. Sure. It's just like,
don't worry, everyone's getting killed.
It's an equal opportunity killing.
Great.
We are inclusive. The terrorists that live here are inclusive killers.
Yeah. They're good. They're good at what they do.
Oh, my God. Like Boko Haram's there. The ISIS is there. ISIS has like a satellite campus in West Africa. They target Christians and Muslims, folks. This is the thing. Mm-hmm. And it's a mess either way. There's also reported violence in central Nigeria as Christian farmers and Muslim herders clash over scarce resources. So this is what MAGA is able to do. They take a small stuff that's happening, which is religious fighting between people, and they level that up to an entire conflict and make it the entire story.
Okay.
Instead of being specific and thoughtful and, correct in how they're speaking about it. While Christians are targeted by some groups, analysts say the majority of the victims of armed groups are Muslims, and most deaths determined by location, not religious affinity. And while many are dismissing Trump's claims, they do believe Nigeria has failed to act decisively against the militants and needs to do more to stop the violence.
Well, what's Trump got to say about this?
Why don't you tell me?
If the Nigerian government continues to allow the killing of Christians and no one else, the USA will immediately stop all aid and assistance to Nigeria and may very well go into that now disgraced country, guns a-blazing,
oh my God,
to completely wipe out the Islamic terrorists who are committing these horrible atrocities. I am hereby instructing our Department of War to prepare for possible action. If we attack, it will be fast. It'll be vicious. It'll be sweet like Melania, just like the terrorist thugs who attacked our cherished, all caps, Christians.
It's just what
bonkers mentality, dude.
How do Christians even? How do they
consider this guy Christian?
Yeah,
I don't know, man.
How does it work?
I don't know. The MAGA brain rot is real, and I think I talked about this with Ed briefly, but I worked in Nigeria.
Yes.
15 years ago. Nigeria is the third largest film production industry in the world. It's like Bollywood, Hollywood, and then Nollywood.
Yeah.
Nigeria would make all the movies for the entire African continent. And I worked in Abuja, which is the capital of Nigeria. It's right in the middle because it was a way to unite the northern and southern parts of the country. It's a former British colony, so another place that the British ruined. But, for a long time, there's peaceful parts of Nigerian history, and I would argue that the oil money in the south and the Muslim extremism that was created in the north and around the country, I mean, there's so many different tribes, but it's really just pushed everything to the brink over there.
Yeah.
And it's too bad, because when I was there, they had a president from the north who got into a coma, and then the northern people wanted to keep him in power even though he was in a coma.
Perfect.
And his southern Nigerian vice president, a guy named Goodluck Jonathan,
Wow.
basically they didn't want to make him the actual president. So they kept this guy in a coma and president as long as they could until Goodluck Jonathan, living up to his name, became the president of Nigeria. And even that was like, just craziness on the streets. Talk about protests. A lot of people were rightfully protesting. Why do we have an invisible president?
They like this president so much.
No, they were protesting. Why do we have an invisible president?
But who was keeping him in power?
His advisors and everything, his family. It was literally because they had.
I thought Biden was bad.
I know
This guy was
Sleepy Joe.
Sleepy Joe.
Yeah.
How about asleep?
Yes. Completely asleep, barely alive, they say.
Wow.
So this was a long time ago, 2010 when I worked there. But Goodluck Jonathan, he became president, and he was president for a little bit there. But it just seems like the unrest never stops between the North, the South, the Muslims, the Christians, and now just random terrorist groups. So I'm sure Trump coming in guns ablazing is going to solve everything.
It'll solve it all. Yeah,
of course. Good. Yeah. Get Hexeth on it.
It is. Oh, God.
Hexeth. Sounds like a noise I make when I vomit. Hexeth.
We should just do that. Make that happen. Folks, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, it's going to be the JD Vance corner. I missed it. Well, I did. I missed it so much.
And we have a real jingle this time.
I know. Should we play the jingle?
100%.
Do I have to go get it? A fan made a jingle.
Yes.
So we'll do our jingle because I know people like it, but then we should play the jingle. All right.
Very excited.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back after this. This is the Foreign Report. Welcome back to the Foreign Report. I'm Seena Ghaznavi, Travis Irvine. We talked about COP30. We talked about Manila, the protests happening there. We talked about Nigeria. One thing we'd like to correct about the Saudi Arabian story that we're talking about, where we're selling them F-35s. I mistakenly said that we sold them downgraded F-35s.
And we made a lot of hilarious jokes about Bluetooth.
Really fun jokes about Apple CarPlay and everything like that. It's actually non-downgraded.
So they do have Bluetooth.
So they have CarPlay, they have Bluetooth, USB-C.
Right, GPS.
All the works.
Heated seats.
Moonroof.
Love a good moonroof.
So it's... If it could get any worse, we just helped you. It's worse.
Yeah, that's what we do now.
It's not even close.
Yeah. That's our new thing in C Block, is what we said earlier was not even as bad as it actually is.
That's how we get you. That's why you got to stick around for the whole show, because we'll make mistakes early.
Right.
And then correct them. This is how you build tension in the YouTube era.
Right.
But right now, it's the JD Vance corner.
Give him a chance. He's JD Vance. No, wait, he sucks. But
we have a little ditty.
This is very exciting. Not like P. Diddy.
Yeah, I don't know. No. I'm never saying that again.
Yeah, you can't call anything Diddy anymore. This is very exciting. We've been requesting for months that someone make us an actual jingle.
Have we been?
For months.
I feel like we have said it a couple times. Yeah.
Yeah, and that someone out there with professional skills.
Kevin Flat and SB.
Wow.
KevinFlatmusic.com.
Wow. KFSB PS. Here we go.
And really kind of you to send. He said, please accept this JD Vance Corner stinger as a token of our appreciation and admiration.
This is so cool. Thank you so much, Kevin.
Let's hear it.
SB.
Give him a chance. It's JD Vance. No, wait, he sucks.
Oh!
Wow. And then there's a club remix, too, that I'm really a big fan. You know I love air horns. They call me Travis Airhorn Irvine is what they call me.
Is that right?
Yeah, around the clubs.
Is it when you hit the clubs?
Yeah, when I frequent all the clubs, of course. Here we go. This one's even more exciting for me.
Give him a chance. It's JD Vance. No, wait, he sucks.
Today in the JD Vance corner, ladies and gentlemen, buckle up, because if you're in a motorcade or in a car surrounding a motorcade of JD Vance, he may get you in a crash and send you into the hospital, specifically if you are a police officer who has the task of guarding said motorcade. Ladies and gentlemen, this is absolutely true. November 14th, last week, JD Vance's motorcade was going through Tennessee to a fundraiser, as you do on a Friday, fundraising Friday, and the crash occurred around the motorcade just after 6 p.m. local time, and Officer Justin Brown, who is providing, quote, dignitary protection detail escort. This is where they hire local police departments to clear the roads so the motorcade can come through. The crash occurred, and he was critically injured and sent to the hospital with very serious injuries. This all, again, occurred in Maryville. He's a member of the Maryville Police Department. And he was
Maryville.
Yeah, you know Maryville, Tennessee. And the police chief there, Tony Crisp, Chief Crisp, which I like, that's a good name, said that a group of citizens first delivered first aid to the officer at the scene of the crash before he was transported to University of Tennessee Medical Center. We actually have, I love my local news clips. We actually have a local news clip from the area.
Yeah,
I'd love to play this clip.
Let's play this.
Because I love local news. And they actually talked to a witness who talked about this terrible crash. And again, this is serious stuff. We are making, we were talking about cop earlier. This is a different kind of cop. But this is, again, a local police officer who's just doing his job. And JD Vance coming to town causes this poor man to get injured.
It is 5:45 on your Tuesday morning, and a Tennessee woman says a crash involving the vice president's motorcade was hard to watch.
She and her fiance witnessed this Friday night. Vice President JD Vance was in East Tennessee for a fundraiser, and the crash itself happened in Maryville. Kelsey Zimmerman and her fiance had to pull over to let that motorcade pass. She says a few minutes after it went by, a Maryville police officer on a motorcycle sped by. He tried to pass a state trooper parked in an SUV in the left lane, but that trooper pulled out like he was doing a U-turn. Zimmerman says those two vehicles collided, throwing the officer into the air.
Honestly, I think it was just really bad timing. He flew probably about 15 feet into the air, landed on the ground, and then that's when everybody started freaking out. The cops started freaking out. They were running everywhere.
A terrifying moment there. Maryville police say the injured officer is Justin Brown, a field training officer. First responders and bystanders performed CPR on scene before Brown was rushed to the hospital.
Whew, okay, so this is major stuff, right? Yeah. And the good news of this story, of course, is that, again, local police officer Justin Brown, he is now stable. And for anyone thinking that, is JD Vance just a heartless man who causes these things?
No, he probably went and saw him in the hospital.
No, he didn't do any of that. According to an updated article, and this is very vague, JD Vance has been checking in on a police officer who was seriously hurt while working his motorcade last week. Checking in. That's what he's been doing. Checking in.
Foursquare.
I don't even know.
What does checking in mean?
Yeah, it's like Vance did reach out to the police department the night of the crash. He did not go to the hospital himself, and he has stayed in touch. So he's checking in and he's staying in touch. That's all we have right now. But the vice president said he wants to speak with Brown once he's recovered enough.
You know what? I'm guaranteeing the vice president didn't say that. His PR person said that.
Yeah. I mean, and also,
I bet
these
that's
are such vague terms. Checking in and staying in touch. What does that even mean?
Shout out to all my friends' former life in Maryville. I've been to Maryville many times. Beautiful place.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. What's your favorite part about Maryville?
It is right in the Smoky Mountains.
Ooh.
So it is very picturesque. It's very nice. It's near Dollywood.
Oh, man, that's on my... I mean, I've been to Nigeria, but Dollywood is where I want to go.
Yeah,
that's where I really want to go. According to Chief Crisp, we know that this community cares deeply about how Justin Officer Brown is doing. We are encouraged with the progress he makes each day. He is alert, talking, and in good spirits. So,
that's great. Thank God.
Good news. It's just, this is what happens when JD Vance comes to your town. He will, he'll change the river flow in southeastern Ohio. He will cause a major wreck here, sending a police officer to the hospital in Maryville, the beautiful Maryville, Tennessee. I just, every week as we approach the end of this crazy year, I think what we're going to do is put together all the
We have to.
the batshit JD Vance news.
It must.
It started with Munich, and it ends in Maryville. I hope.
Well, it's not going to end in
I know,
Maryville.
but every
it's
week-
It's not even Thanksgiving, Travis.
It's crazy, dude. This guy just gets exponentially worse every
He's
single
got
week.
6 weeks to ruin more lives.
I tried to show Ed last week one of these AI videos of big fat JD Vance running around getting hurt that I send you all the time on Instagram, and that just made him more mad. And now
He
I'm
got mad at
about,
AI.
and then I'm mad about it too. So I have nothing. I have nothing good to say about JD Vance.
Well, you never do.
And that's kind of the point.
You never do.
No, wait. He sucks.
Wow. Incredible. Well, thanks, JD, for filling another segment we didn't want to have when this show started.
That's the thing. Yeah.
We didn't want this.
Yeah.
It was a one-time thing.
And every week I'm like, oh, good, there's no JD Vance news. And then this comes through all the wires.
When I saw that, and a couple people have sent it to us on the forum, and I was like, Travis is all over this.
I'm on it. Don't you worry. My algorithm is so effed since joining this show.
On JD Vance.
I apologize to Seena, who's the first line of my
Oh, no, it's
every
great.
video.
I love it. Also, if you send us stuff, it's great. I get it. People need to, get it out, and we're a good place for you to vent. You're
Ed
I'm
Larson
upset.
needed that episode last week. I mean, I did all the head nodding. He did all the talking. It is we thank him for coming on, but he thanked us too. It's like, I needed to get all that off my chest.
Yeah, there's a lot of catharsis that needs to happen, I think.
Get the poison out.
Get the poison out. So we'll probably have Marcus on next month, I think.
Oh, I hope so. Yeah, Lord knows. I talked to Marcus here in the office yesterday, and he's fired up.
I can't imagine why. We didn't mention Epstein once today.
Well, I have a feeling it'll be relevant for a little while here. Let's see how this big vote goes.
Yeah, the Senate hasn't voted yet, right?
Well, the House voted yes. Senate voted yes. Mike Johnson is mad about the Senate making no changes, but they did that so it can keep going. Because if they made changes, it has to go back to the House. Now it goes to the White House.
Oh, so the Senate voted.
Yeah.
Okay,
So the votes have gone. I guess what I meant was, let's see what Trump does. Let's see what the veto.
Well, I'm also seeing that they might have redacted
scrubbed
a bunch.
Everything. And that's what Ed said. I was trying to give good news to Ed last week. He's like, nothing's gonna come out. It's all scrubbed.
Yeah,
it's all scrubbed.
Nothing's gonna happen.
It's like me scrubbing a ham, Travis.
I'm sorry. I'm not confident.
We'll see what happens. There is one piece of the House resolution that I thought was important, is that anything that does get redacted, they need to notify the House about it.
Okay.
And that's
what
Mike
great.
Johnson.
Thank you for that note.
That's what Mike Johnson wanted taken out, and that is what the Senate was just like, no, this is good to go. So if there are redactions, we have to know.
We're going to know
what they're redacting. Is that a victim or is that an important Republican? Right.
Wow. Amazing. Well,
stay tuned.
Smash that subscribe button if you're on YouTube. Smash it if you're on a podcast app. Go to theforeignreportshow.com. Sign up for our newsletter. Send us an email, theforeignreportlpn@gmail.com. Follow us on all the socials. Hit us up with a DM. Say nice things in the comments.
Keep sending jingles, too.
Send the jingles.
FPZ needs a jingle. T-Steps needs a jingle.
We're going to get some merch at some point.
Oh, wow. Great.
Maybe muscle tees.
Good luck with that.
My spaghetti arms need a muscle tee.
Hey, I'm trying to get you to the gym. You're doing great. You're doing great. Also, the LA Fitness people keep calling me on your recommendation.
I'm sorry. I went to LA Fitness. I signed up.
I blocked the number.
They're like, can you give us 3 friends? And I was like, they're going to be unhappy about this.
Seena texted Henry, Ed, and I. Is like, you're the 3 friends I've given their numbers to, and I'm sorry.
Henry was so angry.
Henry had to kill a lawyer to get out of his contract with them.
Well, if you want to come work out with me at LA Fitness, let me know.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
All right, guys. This is the Foreign Report. Travis Irvine. I'm Seena Ghaznavi. Celsius, sponsor us. We'll see you next time.